you know the answer that you're always given when you have menopause. And that means, and that answer is typically from not only conventional doctors, but also a lot of holistic care doctors, is you have to go on bioidenticals. And according to this narrative, this means that unless you take external progesterone, testosterone, and often testosterone, you're just going to crash and burn. And it doesn't quite work that way. Even to, like, a question I have for you right off the bat is, if you believe in God or some higher source, do you believe whatever that higher source is had designed your female body to fall apart at 50 years old? And of course not. Your body is already designed to go from childbearing years to perimenopause to menopause to postmenopausal in perfect hormone balance. And you've seen my other videos. If you haven't, go back to the first video of this year, or soon, or I think it was the second video of 2026, where I talked about in depth how your body has the ability to maintain perfect hormone balance. And about 15% of women who do enter menopause do enjoy that. And the other 85% are not. And there's a variety of reasons. I talked about all of the triggers for menopause symptoms over the last month and plus. And but here's the problem though. See, I see so often in my clinic women who have already seen another practitioner, whether it be conventional or holistic, and they're put on very often either estrogen creams or an estrogen patch, or perhaps pellets. They're put on progesterone, sometimes oral, sometimes a part of the patch, and sometimes you're also put on testosterone, whether that be a part of your patch or a testosterone cream, pellets, or even sometimes I have women that are getting weekly shots of testosterone. Now, here's the problem with this, though, is that, well, number one, you're not fixing the system with that. You might actually help improve your symptoms, but it doesn't fix your hormonal system that has so much more to do than just with what we would consider menopause symptoms, right? And the other problem with that is, most practitioners, when they're looking at hormones, they're really only looking at blood. The problem with that is the blood only shows the amount of hormones in your blood in that moment. And it won't show any hormones that are built up elsewhere in your body, like building up in your tissue, as an example. So one of the problems is that most of the time, women are put on hormones that are either creams, patches, or pellets, and perhaps you're doing that right now. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, just stop that, because the reality is now your body is acclimated to that and it's created a balance around what you're doing. Yet here's some of the problems, is that if you're using a cream, a patch, or a pellet, there is a strong possibility that you're not getting what we would consider adequate absorption through the skin and getting into the blood. So really you could be on a patch, a cream, or a pellet and still not even see a significant rise in the hormones that you're trying to support when you look at your blood results. But then here's the big question. If you're putting this cream on your body, or this patch on your body, or these pellets under your skin, if they're not showing up in the blood, where are they going? And the problem with that is that they're often just building up in your tissue. So I've seen it countless times where women have come in. I'm just thinking of one case off the top of my head, a woman who came in to work with me based on menopause, and she heard how I had a different approach, something I refer to as new menopause. And she wanted to do this more naturally, but she was already on an estrogen cream, progesterone capsules, and weekly shots of testosterone. Now, what was interesting about this is when we did the 24-hour urine collection for hormones, which is not just showing you what's in the blood in that moment, it also has the potential to show what's being potentially built up in your tissue. Well, when we got those results back, she had significant estrogen dominance. Interestingly enough, her testosterone was still low, and her progesterone was about 25 times what it should have been. And these are the stories that I see all the time. Now, the problem with this is, the estrogen dominance is kind of twofold. Because the estrogen dominance is because she was using a cream, she wasn't getting the absorption to get the estrogen into the blood, so it was building up in the tissue. The other problem is the shots of testosterone that she was getting weekly was not raising her testosterone, and her body was inadvertently converting the testosterone into estrogen. And then her body on its own had is creating a significant high level progesterone, because remember, one of the jobs of progesterone is to remove excess estrogen. So even though she had this level of progesterone that was like 25 times what it should have been, it still wasn't enough to keep her out of an estrogen dominance, because she had two things working against her. Number one, basically the estrogen wasn't getting into the blood, it was building up in the tissue. And number two, her body was converting the testosterone into estrogen. Yeah, so these are the problems that I see on a regular basis with women using bioidenticals. Most people don't understand that your body can, with relative ease, convert testosterone into estrogen. And what I'll share with that, and the reason why that happens, is there's an enzyme that can be produced in your body. It's called aromatase, and aromatase very simply converts testosterone into estrogen. And the problem is really that, why are you overproducing the aromatase? You see, very often the aromatase is being overproduced because your insulin is too high, which is a common problem if you have a poor diet, a lack of exercise, or if you're chronically inflamed. Because if you're chronically inflamed, the inflammation will lead to an increase in fat cell production, which then leads to insulin resistance, which then leads to insulin surges, which then ironically creates even more inflammation. So round and round you go. You get kind of stuck in this hamster wheel, so to say. And so it's very important to recognize that what you're being told is the answer. Well, again, you could have some symptom care, and I'm not against you enjoying some symptom care, but two things: you have to fix the system, and taking progesterone, estrogen, and or testosterone does not fix the system. It only addresses your symptoms. And then number two is, what if you're taking this? What if you don't have the absorption to get the cream, the pellet, or the patch, into the blood, and it's building up in the tissue? What if you do have a problem with insulin because of either a poor diet or a lack of exercise, or just due to common inflammatory conditions, and you're producing too much of the aromatase, and now any estrogen or any testosterone you're taking is now being converted into estrogen? So it's one of the things that, a lot of times I'm asked by women, and maybe you have this question for yourself. I'm often asked, if I'm already doing that, what should I do? Well, honestly, the number one thing you should do, if you're already on bioidenticals and you're using creams, patches, or pellets, do a 24-hour urine collection to see what's happening with it. Confirm that it is or is not building up in your tissue, because obviously if you're dealing with an estrogen dominance, that's a risk factor for breast cancer, other cancers, and many significant, like chronic issues in your body. But when you can do a simple test to actually confirm what's going on, it provides some deeper levels of answers for you, and it gives you a direct, a direction to go into, to really help your body to naturally rid itself of the extra estrogen. And then together we can formulate a plan to help you fix the system. Because the simple reality is, once you've gone through perimenopause, menopause, and if you're postmenopausal, you still have the ability to get back into the natural balance of your hormones without the use of progesterone, estrogens, and testosterones. So that's my message that I wanted to have for you today. If you have any questions in regard to the subject, please put them below this video. I typically do this live, but I'm traveling this week doing education in another part of the country. So I wasn't able to do this live as I normally do on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. So you are watching a replay. And rest assured, wherever you're watching this replay, if you have a comment or a question, put it below, and I will make sure that I address that personally. And hopefully this helps you to understand that Potentially what you're doing or what you've been told that you should do could actually cause you some problems. All right. Have a great day, and I look forward to your questions and your comments. Take care.